This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bonini, and these are your headlines. A huge push has been announced to preserve Cambodia's dwindling forests. Our crime desk this week is bursting at the seams with case after case of corruption, and I will tell you how you can help put a stop to it. And unsurprisingly, Cambodia is quoted as the best country on earth. But firstly, our headline story, and it's all about preserving the kingdom's natural heritage. And it really does need some help, as activists have stated that Cambodia's primary forest cover fell dramatically, from 70% in 1970 to just 3.1% by 2007. That is a staggering collapse in the ecosystem. And by 2007, there were less than 3,500 square kilometers of primary forest. Deforestation is proceeding at an alarming rate. Nearly 75% of forest loss has occurred since the end of the 1990s. It is staggering how much has been lost in such a short time. But now a strategy to protect the forests and its wildlife has been announced. And the ministry is aiming very high indeed. For the aim is to increase forest cover by 60% by 2050. And as part of that campaign, there is a plan to plant 1 million trees annually, starting in 2024. Yep, that is the number. 1 million trees each and every year starting this year. But planting young trees is no good if criminal gangs are busy hacking down mature trees. And some areas do suffer more than most. Passat has been a hotspot for illegal loggers, and that one area alone is now to receive an extra 300 military police, 250 police officers, and 780 observers and specialists to ensure that at long last the destruction of the kingdom's ecological heritage is not just stopped, but is in fact reversed. And do you want to know how bad it really is? Well, this week alone, in a week-long crackdown in the Cardamom Mountains, the Ministry of Environment reclaimed an eye-watering 600,000 hectares of land that had been encroached upon. The message is clear. The forests are no longer the Wild West for bandits to plunder as they wish. They are, in fact, the nation's heritage, and they shall be preserved. On this week's Crime Desk, we have a lineup of officials who have been caught in the recent corruption clampdown, and I will tell you how you may help put an end to graft and to bribery. Last week, we covered the story of how hundreds of law enforcement officers had been fired after testing positive for drugs. And the culling goes on. For this week, there was a very notable bust that proves ain't nobody immune from the dragnet to stop the use of illegal drugs by law enforcement officials. The news, in fact, shocked many when it was announced that the Deputy Director General of Immigration had been demoted to Sergeant after drugs were found in his system. And it was the Ministry of Interior that confirmed that this very senior officer had been demoted after he failed a urine test. A spokesman of the Ministry of Interior stated that Lieutenant General Yin Ki-ah has been demoted from Deputy Director General to the very lowest of ranks, which is Sergeant. The senior officer stated that he was not involved in drugs, but on the day of the examination, he took the urine test and then returned to his office without seeing the results, and says that something must have gone wrong with the test itself, He went on to say, "I would like to claim that I have never been involved with drugs, nor have I ever used drugs. The case at current is now under review." And here's another law enforcement official who is also in exceedingly hot water, as the Phnom Penh Municipal Court this week charged and jailed a former Major General of the police force for defrauding 3 people out of more than $50,000. The scam was one that we have covered before, and that was he, in return for the huge bribes, would secure positions within the police department for various people. The accused Major General was in fact a district chief of the fire department in Phnom Penh. He is now not so much residing in a plush office, but in a prison cell. And it does not get any better for him, as he faces a potential jail term of up to 3 years if he is convicted. He had told the 3 victims to pay him $17,000 each, and he in return promised that they would become police officers within 1 month. But the scam collapsed when he failed to find the promised jobs, and the victims then wanted their money back. As is traditional, he failed to return the money, and the victims promptly sued him, shining a very bright light on his murky criminal scheme. And doing so, they got him sent to jail. And it does not stop there, as 3 more senior military officers have been demoted for taking bribes. The Ministry of National Defence has removed the 3 deputy commanders from their positions because they had violated armed forces discipline. According to a statement issued by the Commander-in-Chief of the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces, all 3 were implicated in bribery schemes. And they have taken one almighty fall, as they were demoted from deputy commanders to warrant officers. And those are really huge demotions. The statement said the 3 were fired from their positions because they had accepted a bribe of $1,100 from a group of drug users. The bribe was to secure the drug users' release and to waive the legal charges against them. But it was a member of the family of one of those drug users who later alerted the National Military Commander and informed him of the bribery plot. It was then that the house of cards started to fall. But this ain't the last case, for I have even more for you. And finally, to add to our collection of law enforcement officers gone bad, there is also this guy. And he is wanted by the police after going on the run. He is a deputy inspector of Poi Pet, who remarkably refused to participate in an embezzlement investigation. Worse than that, rather than comply with those investigating, he decided to go on the run, and he is now missing. Now, we have had a long list of corrupt officers being caught this week, but this is in fact a good thing, as it clearly shows the direction law enforcement is being driven. It is now not acceptable to bung someone some cash to make your problems go away. You must face up to the law of the land. And this headline that we ran earlier this week very clearly shows that new direction. It states, you can now send your complaints about corruption via any post office for free. And that is a bloody brilliant idea. Everyone now can contact the Anti-Corruption Unit by simply visiting their local post office and sending in their complaint. That ticking sound in the distance is the clock of justice, and its steady tick, tick, tick is a warning to all. Time is running out for corrupt officials who do not uphold the law. We have, in fact, run over time, but let's quickly finish on a happy note. And it is, in fact, a story from last week. An article in famed UK magazine The Spectator has come to the conclusion that Cambodia is the best country in the world. And it goes on to say it is a nation defined by optimism. In the article written by the novelist Sean Thomas, he said, "I have spent the last several decades travelling around the world, and I can report that Cambodia has a claim to be the best country on earth." Now, those are high words of praise indeed. He then goes on to wax lyrically about food, which is fair enough, but he is a bit of a foodie. But more importantly, he also notes what is much more important, and that is the financial well-being of the nation's citizens. He noted that GDP per capita rose by 7% per year, and he's pretty much right. You see, Cambodia, when I came here 16 years ago, had almost no cars. I'm not joking you. In Siem Reap, there was a handful of old beaten-up Camrys that were used as taxis, whereas now we are knee-deep in Lexuses. And that, to me, shows very clearly how there has been a miraculous change in Cambodia. And with this brave new world, there is huge optimism. I agree myself that Cambodia is the tops. Crime is low, the cost of living is low, and the weather is as bright as the future. It is certainly a kingdom on the rise. It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week. And so to our weather. Now, if you're astute, you'll look at the chart and you'll say, oh, look, he started on a Thursday. Yes, I'm filming a bit early because I have to go and see my dear friend Stinker. Actually, let me put Stinker on the screen right now. You see, Stinker is a young girl from An Long Veng, where things are rather tough up there in those mountains, and her family motorcycle has broken down and she can't get down the mountain to get to school. So I'm shooting off to An Long Veng, and I think the only solution is I will have to buy her a motorcycle, which I'm sure, well, dear old Stinker will squeal with delight. And while she's squealing with delight, she'll probably also notice that it's 34 degrees. The humidity is at about the 45% mark. It's feeling a bit better, but it's just as bad. And as is usual, there's only a gentle trickle of a breeze. This has been the Khmer Times News. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini, and that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly Roundup.